Sticks and Sips. I am your host tonight for the Drew Estate Virtual Happy Hour. I'm so excited to be here. Third episode of the year, season two. Super excited for an amazing, amazing night. Like always, I ask you guys check in from your neighborhoods. We got everybody in the chat. Say hello to everybody and check in from your neighborhood. I love seeing where all you guys are coming from all over the U.S. and parts worldwide, which is always, always super. I call it honorific that you're tuning in from wherever you're at, and super excited for an amazing show that I've got cooking tonight. Listen, we are celebrating the National Irish Coffee Day. A couple days late, but listen, it's never a bad time to have an Irish coffee. But listen, the whole key here is that we're having a virtual happy hour with everybody joining us, and I say welcome to Sticks and Sips. This is where you guys get to watch me talk to some amazing people, and I've got such amazing guests tonight. But more importantly, you guys get to win some swag if we pick your questions. So I'm debuting the new. So I've got the new Sticks and Sips lid. We've got our Sticks and Sips cutters, and we got a couple of glasses for you guys. All you got to do, ask a question, hashtag Ask Frankie Drinks. If we pick your question, you win the prize pack. We might even throw a couple of stickers if Jack says it's okay. So, listen, it's time to get this party started. So listen, let's throw on that menu. So tonight, the sips, man. Bushmills Black Bush. Can't get any better. And yes, we did. We're adding to it. We're gilding the lily. We got the Sexton single malt Irish whiskey. Our special guest today, Jack Ferris, global brand ambassador for Bushmills, and my man, Willy Herrera, master blender for Drew Estate. Special guest tonight. And then we've got, the typical cast of characters that join us all the time. And so I'm going to pop into the Zoom just for a minute, guys. And I'm going to go around the horn here. Joey Drew, welcome back, my brother.
Good to see you, man. I'm back in my home base tonight, not in the studio. So cheers to everybody out there. I'm doing straight Bush tonight. I'm not doing the Irish coffee. I'm going straight Bush in a glass, all by itself, neat, banging, delicious stuff. I can't wait to see how that thing comes out, though.
That you bothered to put it in a glass is respectable, man. So welcome back. Always honored to have the wizard on with us. I got my man, Mike Llaneza from Drew Estate jumping in. How you doing, Mike?
Popping his Sticks and Sips cherry tonight, baby. Look at that.
I absolutely am. And as I said earlier, Frankie, this could change the entire arc of my narrative. So I'm looking forward to having a good time with you tonight.
All right. You keep those phone lines open. So for all you Hollywood, elite that are tuning in, he is available, reach out. And my man, Willy Herrera, how you doing, brother?
What's up, kiddo? I'm doing well, man. Happy to be here, bro. Excited for another episode, man.
Well, listen, our featured stick for our happy hour is the Herrera Distillery Miami. So who better to have on the show than the man himself? And we'll be talking about the Herrera Miami.
Sounds like a plan.
All right. And last but not least, I'm going to check in with my man, Jack Ferris, global brand ambassador for Bushmills. How you doing, Jack?
Frankie, I'm doing good. A little bit chilly up here in the northeast of the US, but we've got some things that'll have to keep us nice and warm, nice and happy. So yeah, it's good to be here, to be amongst all the guys.
Well, we are super honored to have you on. But listen, I need to get to the happy hour portion of the show, so we got to celebrate. It was National Irish Coffee Day this week. So I'm going to show you my spin on the Irish coffee. So I'm going to ask the producer, my man, Jack Hager, to throw on that beautiful footage. This is an Irish cafe. So like all good Irish coffee, you need to warm up that glass with some hot water. That's really key. It's almost amazing what that does to making the integrity of that cocktail work. And then, I added a couple of sugar cubes, but you could use Demerara syrup, which I think is rich and delicious. And of course, using that with Black Bush. I wanted my coffee to have a little more oomph, and I'll tell you a little bit about that. So then I did a hot Cuban Americano. So I took Cuban coffee and cut it with a little hot water, much like making an Italian Americano. And then all you got to do is top it with some beautiful cream. Get that nice, beautiful topper to it. And, you got to give it a good shake. I usually pull the coil out of a Hawthorne and throw it in. If you've got a protein shake maker, go ahead, use that. Those are beautiful. I used one for this last one today. And then you just want to top it. I topped it with just a couple of beans, but I'm being fancy. You know how it is. And listen, and with that, that's my signature quote. That's salute. That's my little cafe Americano. I thought to the strength there to kind of meet my man Willy Herrera's stick halfway, and I want to raise a glass to everybody out there and say cheers.
Clink.
Oh man, that's nice. And without further ado, I've got the global brand ambassador for Bushmills here, and he's going to show you the classic. So please, Jack, show us the classic. Oh, we're a little muted here. Hang on. We're going to fix some things. There we go.
So there we go. But so we've worked very closely with one of the most recognized bars that you can find anywhere in the world, based here in New York City. And what they've decided to do is really make the Irish coffee accessible to everyone, make it as simple as possible, but refine those ratios. And getting those ratios right, getting those ratios perfect is the key to a perfect Irish coffee. And again, is to make it simple, but make it effective. So really, to make the best Irish coffee, at least in our opinion, at least the classic way, is really only 3 ingredients: whiskey, sugar, coffee. The cream is that's the layer for the top. And if we want to go a little bit extra, we can use a little bit of nutmeg. But what I'm going to do is show you just how simple, how easy it is to make this Irish coffee. And unfortunately, during these times, we can't necessarily go to the bars that we used to love, enjoy these Irish coffees in the way we did. So to know how to make these perfectly back home is very, very essential. So what I'm going to do is simply just show you how quick, how easy it is to make. But as I'm doing this, I'll explain why we're using the certain ingredients that we are. So the first thing we're going to use is our sugar syrup. Of course, a lot of people, they would use sugar cubes or maybe granulated sugar. We tend to prefer to use Demerara sugar. And the reason for that is that it gives it a little more of a mapley aspect. And by using syrup, it means that we can keep using this again and again and again. We don't have to stir that in. So this is a great thing. If we've got some friends coming over to the apartment, if we're watching a game together, we can make 4, 5, 6, 7 all together in one row. It makes it very, very simple, very straightforward, and more importantly, very consistent. What I have here is 3/4 of an ounce of Demerara sugar syrup. What I will then do is we're going to add 1 ounce of Bushmills Original. Now, the reason we recommend Bushmills Original is the fact it's got a beautiful balance of the grain to malt. So it is a blended whiskey. It is matured inside predominantly American bourbon barrels. And with that, we get a little more of a caramel, a little more of a vanilla, a little hint of honey coming through, which will perfectly complement the coffee, but more importantly, the cream. So what we're going to do is add in 1 ounce of the Bushmills Original. And then what we're going to do is add in about 3¼ ounces of Sumatra coffee. And it is just drip coffee. Now, about 3¼ ounces, how to figure this out? This is a 6-ounce glass. we're going to leave one thin finger's worth of space for the cream at the top. So. Quite enough. And then the cream, we typically recommend about 30 to 35% fat content. And the reason for that is a little more viscous. We've still got some of those fatty flavors in there that will really retain some of those characteristics that we look for within cream. And particularly because we are making an Irish coffee back home in Ireland, the laws that we have to make dairy products are a lot more lenient than they are, unfortunately, here in the United States. And state by state, cream can vary massively. So this is why, unfortunately, we do have to shake it up that little bit more. And we would always recommend typically a protein shaker. And the reason for the protein shaker is, firstly, we can put it back in the fridge and it'll stay fresh. But more importantly, we've got this large mouth at the top. And that large mouth means we don't have to use the back of a spoon. So we'll just shake this up, make it a little bit thicker. I have pre-shaken it, so that's why I don't want to do it too much. And we go. Unfortunately, what I have done, I have made this too thick.
We've made it into butter. It's okay. So we'll scoop it out. And that's the beauty of it. So listen, we are live without a net here, folks, and that's how we like to do it.
Yeah, it shows you the challenges. It's not easy. So if you are doing it at home, like you may run into this exact snag, and you can fix it, and it's all good in the end.
Oh yeah, all right.
Yeah,
we will get there.
It's the anticipation, you know.
Yeah, exactly. So,
live doesn't always go to plan.
It's all good. It's all good. So I love when you're using the right ingredients and they're chilled right, and they come out just beautiful, so that's part of the beauty of doing this. And I've got this beautiful shaker too that Jack's using. Let's go back to Jack as he's pouring it out.
This is not going to plan, but
we're all good. Here it goes, and there it is. Look at that beautiful cream, and it sits right on top. It's amazing. So Jack,
and weirdly, so with the issue I just went through there, that is one thing we can always rectify. So sometimes adding a little bit of water, a little bit of milk, they'll just thin that out. So what we want to have is a consistency that is thick enough to pour, but not thin enough that it sinks down. So this is why whenever you look at this Irish coffee, it should always look like a baby Guinness. And there's a big reason for using this cream as well. We're using piping hot coffee. Now, if we go to drink this Irish coffee, it's going to burn our lips if we didn't have that cold cream top. So it keeps our lip nice and cold. And as we draw that hot coffee, hot whiskey, and hot sugar through, we get that beautiful little fattiness, fatty oils that come through with the cream. And that is why it makes a perfect Irish coffee. And again, just with the issue, even with me being the global brand ambassador, we have that issue there. It shows how quickly it is to rectify that problem. So
absolutely. So let's raise the toast. So cheers or sláinte. And I want everyone to take a look at how that cream is floating on top of my coffee there.
You went pretty aggressive on that cream, huh?
No, actually, I've been sipping it. So the little thin finger that we had before has now dropped down to the bottom. But you see how delicious the cream has coated the glass, and I love it. And thank you, Jack, for showing us that beautiful beautiful cocktail that I don't think gets as much respect these days. In 1943, Joe Sheridan at Foynes Port in Limerick basically developed this beautiful drink, and it was as a way to appease, I believe, a delayed flight that had to return to to the airport, and he wanted to make something beautiful. And everybody, somebody asked him, what type of coffee is this? And he goes, it's an Irish coffee. And from then, in 1953, there was a travel writer by the name of Stanton Delaplane, who showed it to his bartender at the Buena Vista Hotel in San Francisco in 1953. And there it's been kind of just birthed everywhere where the U.S. is finally enjoying it. And I have been at Buena Vista and have had more than one Jack, I'm afraid to say. And I probably would have spent the entire day being drunk and wired. And trust me, those are two things in life that are okay. You can be drunk and wired because usually I become sleepy. But, so I thoroughly enjoy myself. I highly recommend you get one. And if you're in New Orleans, it's a shout out to my buddy up in Erin Rose, Brooke Flaherty, who's got a great Irish name. Their frozen Irish coffees are totally off the reservation, but delicious. And you know what I'm talking about, Jack.
Oh yeah, I know exactly who you're talking about. But look, this is the beauty of a perfectly balanced Irish coffee, is the fact typically you're not going to have one. When the bartender asks you if you want another, you'll happily say yes. And before you're thinking about closing out, if they twist your arm, you'll happily have a third. And that is how you know you've got the perfect balance of an Irish coffee. And again, it's those ratios. Remember, we don't have to go booze heavy. It's only 1 ounce of Bushmills Original we poured in there. It's only 3/4 of an ounce of sugar, sir. There's 3 1/4 ounces of coffee, and there's only a thin finger's worth of cream. Again, that heavy cream. And again, this is the beauty of, again, using that protein shaker, is that not only will it keep, if we have to change it up, if we have to thin it out, we can ever so easily. And this is the beauty of a good Irish coffee. It's actually the most simple drink to make. If you find it complicated, typically that means you might not be making it the right way.
You heard that, Willie? We'll have a tutorial just for you.
Hey, man,
but
I'm a little slow, bro. It takes a little practice for me, but that just means it's more of them I got to drink along the way.
all right.
I have a problem only pouring 1 ounce of anything. I think
Yeah,
my first.
No, you don't.
First,
You drink copitas. You drink mezcal copitas 1 ounce at a time.
I definitely
but
want a little
I
over
think-
1 ounce.
I think I would start, a little over. The first one would be like 1.5 ounces, maybe 2, and then every subsequent Irish coffee, then I would dial it back a little bit. That's just me.
He's got a scalable recipe. That's lovely. Yeah. That's lovely. I'm sure your bartenders would appreciate you. But Jack, listen, I want to talk about, last time you were on, we talked about the beauty of the single malts in Bushmills. So, give us a little bit of the background of Bushmills for everyone that missed that episode. And then I want to talk about Black Bush because it's one of my favorites.
Yeah, so just a little bit of a background for everyone. So Bushmills, we're the world's oldest licensed whiskey distillery. That license was granted back on the 20th of April, 1608. Now, where we are is in the north coast of Ireland. And whenever I say the north coast, I really mean that. We're only 1 mile from the North Atlantic Ocean. And where we're situated is actually a village called Bushmills. And the name Bushmills comes from where we are and what we do. The main river running through the village, and it's only a village of about 1,100 people. That river is called the River Bush. And the first industry that was built on the banks of that river were the mills. And those mills milled the barley. So the name Bushmills comes from where we are and what we do. Now, on top of that, what we create at Bushmills Whiskey Distillery is a triple distilled single malt. What that simply means that we use 100% malted barley. What makes us different to our Scottish brethren, who we love and hate at the same time, is that we typically do not smoke. So there is no smokiness, there is no peatiness with Bushmills. So it is a pure malty characteristic. And then that triple distillation, the reason we emphasize that is that, again, with our Scottish brethren, typically they only distill twice. But that's because they're a little bit tight and a little bit cheap. We like to go for the full triple distillation, which is why you'll hear people describe Irish whiskey and Bushmills is smoother. That third distillation removes more of those spicier, hotter, maybe sometimes unpleasant notes. And again, with that distillation, we're using copper pot stills, which is one of the most inefficient ways to distill. But we get some of the world's highest qualities, which is why all of our whiskeys within our portfolio have won some of the world's top awards. Even our Bushmills Original, which first appeared back in 1888, won a gold medal in the Paris Expo of 1889. So this is a whiskey where its recipe remained almost unchanged since long before Prohibition. If any of our viewers love pre-Prohibition cocktails, well, we have to use a pre-Prohibition whiskey. Now, what makes our original different to the Blackbush? In fact, our Blackbush, it is still a blended whiskey. So it's a mixture of both pure single malt and tailor-made grain spirit. But our Blackbush is 80% single malt, almost unheard of for any blended whiskey. Our Blackbush is then matured predominantly inside Oloroso sherry casks we get from southern Spain. So with the Blackbush, we get a very rich, very robust flavor. Sherry casks typically give a lot more of a nutty characteristic, a little more of a dryness as well. But our distillate, what we distill at Bushmills Distillery, is very light, floral, and fruity. If we combine that distillate with the nutty characteristic, that dryness of an Oloroso sherry cask, what we get is almost like a Christmas cake, almost like a fruit cake. We get dried fruits, we're going to get a little bit of nuttiness, a hint of spiciness, but it will last on that palate. The finish will continue through and through, long past the jawline, going deep into the throat, and will just linger through. So at this time of year, Blackbush is something I will always reach for. So again, it's why I'm very jealous of your Cuban Miami style coffee that you've created. So the next time I see you, I cannot wait to try it.
Next time you're here, I'll make this for you. Trust me. I'm going to bring in my man, Mike Llaneza, who loves his Irish whiskey and who has his little bottle of, or not little, the standard size, of the Blackbush. And I'm going to ask Mike, Mike, how you doing, first of all?
Frankie, I'm doing extremely well at the moment, working my way through my first Irish coffee with the Bushmills, actually. So I've got a couple here, and I've been working and enjoying this, listening to Jack tell me all about Bushmills. I'm well.
Fantastic, man. So how do you like the Blackbush?
I do like the Blackbush. What struck me when I picked up both of these bottles last weekend, I opened up both and then just kind of took in the notes that were coming off the bottle just to see which one struck me. And I actually picked up more off of the Blackbush than the Sexton. Now that's me, but that kind of led me into that. And then I tried an ounce of each over the weekend as well, just to kind of get my arms around a little bit. And then this evening, I made a couple of Irish coffees, and starting with the Blackbush. I like it. I like it a lot. I'm a coffee
Fantastic.
guy. I'm a coffee guy, Frankie, to begin with. So this could be a little dangerous for me. So we'll see what happens.
Well, I definitely like that, and Jack, I will say that I love the sherry overtones. I think they're fantastic. It leads to that little bit of that, that drawing of the palate, and then you've got that kind of that stone fruit blast, that's ever present, and the aroma on it, when we're having it neat. um, whenever we can. And I love it in cocktails. I just love the complexity of it as well. And I thought that when Black Bush was released, and Red Bush as well. If you guys want to go through that line, go to the Bushmills original Red Bush and Black Bush. These are just beautiful expressions of a spirit that carry the same beauty of Bushmills, with slightly different ways to experience it. That's the way I like to call it. And so I'm gonna say cheers to you, because I'm enjoying this. I love the nose on it. It is Christmassy. It's so good. And everybody out there, um, if you've seen it, if you get a chance, experience it. It really is phenomenal. So, Jack, I've got something like really, really cool that we're going to talk about today. So, are you ready? First of all.
Fire away.
All right. So, but before that, so if you got any questions, you can ask Frankie, hashtag ask Frankie Drinks, or ask Jackie Drinks, or Mikey Drinks, or Willie Drinks, or Joey Drinks. It's all good. We'll get to your questions. Make sure that you get them in there on the chat. We get that chat going, going live. My man Jack is keeping an eye on it, making sure it's all good. So, this is, this, this puts the S, the sexy in Sexton. So for those of you guys that have seen this beautiful bottle and this beautiful artwork that goes with it, this is the Sexton. And I'm going to let my man Jack talk about the beauty of this single malt Irish whiskey.
So yes, the Sexton is a very recent addition to the Irish whiskey portfolio that we've all seen explode over the last couple of years. The Sexton is very unconventional because this is a triple distilled single malt. However, it's only 4 years old. So very unconventional for that age to be a single malt. And then more importantly, it's a typical retail price. We should be finding this in around about the $30 mark. Just even more unusual for any single malt to be found around the world. The Sexton single malt, there's a couple of stories behind it. So let's all have a little drink as we talk about these stories.
There we go.
About the Sexton single malt is the fact.
First of all, Jack, I'm gonna interrupt you for a second. Please forgive me. Willie, do you have your pour of the Sexton ready for this segment?
I do not, man. I'm finishing up my my coffee. If you give me a
All right.
minute, I'll be happy to go grab it.
Don't worry. Just listen, and we'll enjoy it all together in a couple of minutes. So I'm sorry, Jack. I've just got to keep our master blender, on course here. It's part of the show. All right. Yeah. So please tell us a beautiful story of Sexton.
So firstly, the background of what it actually is: triple distilled single malt, and this is going to be matured inside the Oloroso sherry cask. So very similar wood choice to the Black Bush. But what makes this quite different is the fact this is going to be predominantly first fill Oloroso sherry casks. What makes it so different is the fact first fill sherry casks are something that a lot of distilleries are quite intimidated to use because it's so hard to get right. But what's happened here is that it's predominantly first fill. We've got a little bit of second fill and a little bit of third fill. And to explain what that means, first fill means it's the first time the distillery has used them since they came from Spain. So that means the sherry influence is very, very overpowering. The second fill means the second time it's been used and refilled. Third time, it's the third time being used and refilled. But it's predominantly first fill. So that's why the sherry note here is very, very prominent. But again, remember, this is single malt. You get that honeyed maltiness coming through. Very distinctive. But the person behind Sexton single malt is a lady called Alex Thomas. So Alex Thomas is also from the north coast of Ireland. And over 13 years of working within the whiskey industry, she learned exactly what she liked, what she didn't like, what she felt the climate of the north coast of Ireland could provide to certain styles of whiskey. So she fell in love with the style of using Oloroso sherry casks, but more importantly, how they were aged and how the climate of the north coast of Ireland affected that aging. This is something that she concepted herself. Now, with this, she decided to use a pure single malt to challenge the perception of, firstly, what single malt typically is revered by many, many people without our industry. They believe single malt typically is exclusive for the higher end whiskey drinker, for the person drinking in the higher end hotel. But it doesn't have to be that way. She wanted to make single malt accessible to everyone. Now, Alex, as well as her life within the whiskey industry, being predominantly around the maturation aspect. So she knows exactly what has worked and what hasn't worked. Also, a big thing is that with her bottle, we'll notice it's a very distinctive shape and size. And the reason is that shape, the reason it is that size, is that it is a nod to, again, the north coast of Ireland. So on the north coast, we've got a natural formation called the Giant's Causeway. It's about 40,000 basalt columns, all hexagonal, reaching deep into the North Atlantic Ocean. So again, this is a nod to where it is distilled and a nod to the water that runs over these rocks that forms this whiskey. So again, what we'll notice with it being, first of all, sherry cask is not only is that nose so strong, but this is why I've distracted you. The flavor on the palate and the finish in that palate is very, very strong. The nuttiness, the spiciness, again, those dried fruits, more raisin, a little bit of almost a plum aspect. And again, we're going to get a little bit of almond coming in. Now, some people view almond as maybe a little more marzipan. But again, we'll just notice that gentle glow just glistens the side of the throat and even that finish going into the chest. So this is how we notice how much body this whiskey carries. And this is one of the best things about Sexton, is the fact we can enjoy it neat with a large cube, or we can enjoy it in one of the most refined cocktails possible. So back in the days when we could go to those mixology bars, and in the days that we will be able to go back to these mixology bars, it's something I love challenging someone with, because it is such a versatile whiskey. And it is a whiskey to be enjoyed in any way and any manner possible. So it's a great sipper.
Cheers. I personally, I love that, that part of the back of the throat that gets you. I love that little bit of a bite, which is, it's not unobtrusive. It's the presence. It tells you it's there. I get overwhelming, honeycomb that sits with that sherry, and I think it's just beautiful. When it came out, I'm like,
what's the proof on that sucker?
This is only 80 proof, and it has been chill filtered. But again, this shows you it's a younger style whiskey. It's only a 4-year-old. So this is why the attention it brings to the palate is very distinctive, because it is a little bit younger. But that youth does not mean it's an unpleasant bite. That youth just highlights the spirit's a little bit younger. So it brings a lot more attention, brings a lot more intricacy within what you're finding out. But again, you get the balance of the triple distilled smoothness. So we've gained the intensity, but we haven't sacrificed the unbalance.
fantastic. So listen, I believe my man, Willy Herrera, has gotten his pour,
Yes, sir.
and he's having a little sip. Willie, how you doing over there with the Sexton?
Loving it, man. Loving it.
It's
Can't go wrong.
for those of you that can see, it's a beautiful amber. It's a beautiful amber. It's a beautiful color. It's so reflective, and man, the nose is so good on it, and it's hard to choose, Jack, we brought two beautiful expressions, Black Bush, which is very different than the Sexton, but they're both so great, in my opinion, not only to play around with and, make an Irish coffee with or making a cocktail, but more importantly to sip and really enjoy a great cigar with, because I do believe Irish has such a great place. Irish whiskey has such a great place with cigars with us, and I'm gonna say cheers to you, my man, for always being supportive of the show and sharing this beautiful knowledge on these great spirits. We tackled single malts the first time. We're in the Black Bush and the Sexton today. Let's see what tomorrow holds. But in the meantime, we're going to enjoy together. So everybody out there that has a little Bushmills in the house with them, raise a glass and let's all say a cheers to Jack Ferris, Global Brand Ambassador to Bushmills, for joining us again at Six and Sips. Cheers.
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 Guys, sláinte. So tell you what, I'll do a little toast. So this means we get actually 2 sips. So, there are long ships, there are tall ships. There are ships that sail the sea. There's no ships like friendships. May they always be. Sláinte, gentlemen.
There you go. Sláinte.
Well done.
Down the hatch.
There we go. You're not supposed to. You can just take a sip, but
No, not
Joey
after
takes big sips.
Not after a toast like that. You gotta pour it all
Oh.
down.
listen. These guys, from the brethren in Scotland to the beautiful people of Ireland that represent all the beautiful brands that come from there. Listen, I believe they go through some specific training on toasting, because that's really their forte. And
It's one of the things about the bars that we find up in the rugged coastline of Ireland and maybe even Scotland, that the bars give us shelter from the harsh weather, the strong winds that come off the North Atlantic, the rain that comes in sideways. So the bars are our shelter, but the bars are also our community center. And the bars also have those beautiful old fireplaces, typically the peat burning in there. With that, you hear the stories, you hear what's been passed down through centuries, through generations. And of course, we hear every toast known under the sun. So it's part of the lifestyle from being up from there. So yeah, over a fireplace, over good company, this is where the best whiskey is always enjoyed. And what I'm doing with you right now is that I'm passing over to you and sharing with you. Sadly, it's over a camera and virtually, not in person, but it's what we learned throughout all those centuries.
That's fantastic. And I'm gonna end this segment with I had to dig up what Joe Sheridan, who invented the Irish coffee, and when they asked him for the actual recipe, he gave it to us in the most poetic way, like the Irish poets do. And Joe Sheridan was actually a chef. So, so the beauty of it was the recipe for the proper Irish coffee was cream, rich as an Irish brogue, coffee, strong as a friendly hand, sugar, sweet as the tongue of a rogue, and whiskey, smooth as the wit of the land. And that's, that's ultimate beauty. And Joe Sheridan, I say a toast to you, and Jack, a toast to you, my friend. I'm glad that we are able, through the many miles, to still be able to connect together. So everybody, Sticks Sips Land, salute. And man, that is delicious. And with that, if you haven't got your questions in, make sure you get them now, because this is it. This is the moment you've been waiting for. Our master blender at Drew Estate, the man that brings you all the cool stuff that you guys smoke. He's on with us, and I know he's got a special place in his heart for Irish whiskey. And I don't know if that was because of me giving him a whole lot of Irish whiskey, or we existed before. I really don't care, Willie. I want to welcome Mr. Willy Herrera, the master blender for Drew Estate. How you doing, Willie?
Doing good, brother. Doing good. And I have to say, man, you know, you introduced me to this world, bro. So I owe it all to you, man.
Well, dude, I hope you're having a good time. You know, your palate is what drives the world of our cigars for Drew Estate. People ask you all the time, you know, the standard questions. Willie, how'd you get started? Willie, what inspires you? And what
Hey,
what
Willie,
this
what's
and
your
this
favorite
is.
cigar?
Yeah, Willie, what's your favorite cigar? But Willie, I'm gonna ask you, like, what's your favorite Irish whiskey tonight?
Oh man, it's gotta be the Sexton, bro.
All right, all right. That's what I love to hear. Man, it is quite delicious, my man. No, not because our man, Jack was on, but if he wasn't on and we were drinking this, we'd still say this stuff is phenomenal.
It
Um,
is. But I gotta tell you that Bushmill, the one next to it there that I had the first time in that episode.
right.
Oh man, that thing is amazing too, man. It's hard to pick which of the two. You know, it's very similar to when they ask you, "What's your favorite cigar?" And it's like, man, I can't pick one. It's got a time and place. And the same thing with these two Irish whiskeys. I mean, they're both really, really, really good.
Now, forgive me, I had actually forgotten that when we had done the single malts, that we can get you a single malt delivered out to you, but you actually got a Black Bush, and that's what you were enjoying the last time we were on together. And
Hmm.
man, like that Black Bush is truly amazing. But tonight we are featuring the Herrera Esteli Miami. So that's what kind of drove me. I love the Miami, so it kind of drove me to how to create my version of the Irish coffee, which I call the Irish Cafe, which I've promised to make for my man Jack Ferris next time he's in the hood. But Willie, before we go to that, I'm going to ask Jack. Jack, if you could show that slide on the Herrera Miami, so everybody knows what we're talking about. This is one of the most beautiful sticks that we got. Um, we got an Ecuadorian Habano Oscuro wrapper, Ecuadorian Sumatran binder, and the combo of a Dominican and Nicaraguan fillers to kind of get that complexity in there. And Willie, if you don't mind, tell us the story of the Miami, brother.
Dude, so the story is it started off as as a limited release. It started off as one size. And, over time and, we made some changes to the packaging for the whole Herrera brand family. We decided to add the other additional four sizes to the line. It originally came out in a Corona size. And then when we revamped all the packaging to kind of streamline all of the different brands under the Herrera umbrella, we decided to add the other four sizes to it. And so, it's a line it originated out of my family's factory here in Little Havana in Miami. And then when we expanded the line, it continued to be made here at the factory in Miami. And I have the privilege to uh, be a part of that when I'm here in town and kind of take it back to the roots for me, where it all started for me, overseeing the production of this line, and be hands-on with the rollers and see a lot of the regulars that come into the factory when like what back in the day before I made the move to Drew Estate. So it's a cigar that was born. The concept was kind of bring back what I remembered back in the early 2000s, 2005, 2004. A lot of these great cigars that were coming out of these little smaller boutique family factories in Miami. There was a big craze. I remember, it was a big article in Aficionado about these boutique factories in Miami, and a lot of these great cigars that were hitting the market back then that were very different from what the market had seen up to that point. That spice and kind of that richness and kind of that a different kind of complexity that cigars out of Miami were offering compared to what people had smoked to up to that time. So that was kind of my thought process when I started working on this blend. And, like you said, it's a blend of Dominican tobaccos with Nicaraguan tobaccos. But then it has a very special leaf that, because of the size of our factory, we're able to get some. And the name of that tobacco is called Medio Tiempo. It's a tobacco that, if you go to 5 different producers or farmers, especially if those farmers are connected to a factory that they make their own cigars, uh, you will not be able to get the tobacco, because out of a field, you know, not every plant. So what happens is they do all the primings, they pick all the secos, they pick all the visos, they pick all the ligeros off the plant. Then they leave that stalk on there in the ground. And then some of those plants will give off another 2, maybe 3 leaves at the very top of that plant. And what happens is, those leaves are receiving all the nutrients from that stalk, from that ground, that now, it's just them. It's not being distributed through those ligeros, through those visos and those secos. So you get a very unique tobacco. And as I was saying earlier, most growers, especially if they have factories, they keep that for themselves. But because of our relationships that we've built in our factory here in Miami, and the fact that we're small, we're a boutique little factory. We don't use a lot of it, and we kind of hand select what brands we're going to put that tobacco into. And so, being my family's factory, I kind of had first dibs on that, and I was able to get my hands on that, and we have a little bit of that tobacco in this cigar, man.
Well, listen, for those of you guys that have been, wondering about the Miamis or trying to get it into your rotation, thank you for explaining the complexities, because those questions come up all the time. Like, what's really in a Miami? What makes it really rich? So having smoked in Miami, Jack, when I went ahead and made an Irish cafe, right? I used this thing. Willie's gonna laugh. It's a
Pilon, baby.
gigantic
Long.
it's a gigantic Cuban espresso. This is what we use, and it's our ground espresso. And yes, this is about like 1 day's supply for a Cuban, but just ask anybody. And then we use these gigantic things to make giant pots of espresso. And Jack, when you come down and hang with me down in South Florida, we'll just drink endless amounts of Cuban coffee, which is about it's very simple. You make espresso and then you cut it with about 50% sugar. So you're like not only wired on caffeine, but you're wired on sugar,
It's a beautiful thing.
and yeah. And so like it's listen, I hope no one gets offended. It's liquid crack cocaine, and that's what makes us, so intense, and so, you know, personable, if I could use that word. But Mikey, I'm gonna go to you, my man. Mikey, what's because I'm not gonna ask our master blender what's the flavor profile on a Miami. I'm gonna ask the man who I seen smoke more Miamis than anybody except for Ben Pearson. So shout out to Ben Pearson out there in Facebook Landia. Mikey, how do you like our Herrera Silly Miami?
Well, let me just say this. The Miami immediately, when it was released in 2016, attracted attention, and it made the consensus list in 2016. It made another list this year. So it's great that happened, but this thing was making waves immediately. And I want to circle back before I talk about the flavor profile just to the wrapper leaf. So that Ecuadorian Habano Oscuro. Oscuro, most people think of that word in terms of, it means very dark. Okay. And that's true. That's the literal translation. However, Oscuro, and Willie, correct me if I'm wrong, that is also a process, is it not?
Mhm. Right.
Okay. So, and I think that the Ecuador grows some beautiful Habano wrapper, and the Oscuro from there just adds a ton of flavors like earth, cedar, and sweetness, espresso, coffee. These are some of the notes that you're going to pick up from this cigar. My favorite size was the original size. So the Corona, which I still have some of those left tonight. I'm enjoying a Robusto at the moment. Got a Pyramid ready to light up next. But If you haven't tried this cigar, it is absolutely amazing. It's not expensive. I mean, it retails from 10 in my territory, 10 to 13 bucks. And it is definitely worth taking a ride. As I said, the guys who've been blessed with really, really good palates picked up on this cigar as soon as it was released. So take it for a ride. It's definitely worth the trip. And that kind of ties into what Jack was talking about earlier with accessibility. Drew Estate has always been about accessibility in terms of we make stuff for everybody. So I think this is an accessible cigar. And I think what Willy is doing is bringing, a great talent to those people that enjoy Drew Estate cigars. And he's bringing some really, really fine blends. And, you'll enjoy the cigar. It's a great medium plus, couple shades above medium smoke. Definitely worth taking for a ride. And if you don't mind, I'm going to keep going here for just 1 second. I want to give a shout out to my crew from Michigan who are in the house this evening, Cigar Cartel. Thanks so much for the support. And of course, knowing who butters my bread, I'd like to say hello to my boss, Jeff Tennell, who's also in the room this evening. So thanks for joining us, Jeff. But yeah, Willy's blend, again, this blend immediately, it made waves. And furthermore, and I think Willy talks about a tribute. It reminds me of an artist creating a tribute to where he emerged from. And Willy emerged from Little Miami or Little Havana in Miami in the early 2000s. And it's his love story, if you will, or tribute to his home. So I think it's just an awesome expression of his feelings about where he came from.
Well said, Mikey. Well said.
Thank you,
Well
sir.
said. Yeah, absolutely.
I can hear the casting directors lining up right now.
Exactly.
As I said, you never know. Someone from Hollywood or New York may be calling me this evening or perhaps tomorrow morning.
Jack, is anyone from New York calling? No? Crickets?
Well, we have to see who's left in the city at this moment.
Yeah, his LinkedIn is blowing up right now. Look at it.
Yes. Listen, it's Mike Llaneza. That's not with a Y. It's 2 L's. Just like the good Spanish that produce the beautiful Oloroso sherry casks. My peoples. That do the thank you for laughing, Jack. I appreciate that. Somebody goes, hey, where are you? Somebody actually asked me, where are you from? And I said originally, and they said yes. And I said Old Divide Gorge. And they were at a loss. So, for those of you guys that follow, human geography. Anyway, but listen, Jack, this is going to go off the rails at some point, right? I can't keep something professional, so, but listen, I love the richness. I love the richness of, I'm going to go with Black Bush. If I'm going to choose one right now, at the beginning of of the Miami, Willy, and I want to tell you, I'll share with you and Jack, at the very beginning, that first half of a Miami, I want that Black Bush with it. But as we get to where it gets more complex on that, that second third, that last bit, I love the Sexton, man. I love some of those bites that now start to compete with those. And Mikey, how you, as you're smoking through that Miami, how's that Sexton playing out? Because for me, it just made sense, man.
Well, they say that great minds think alike, Frankie, and you and I both took the same approach. So I started with the Bushmills, and I'm working on the Sexton right now. It's wonderful. No complaints here.
Love it. Willy, I know you're on that last third. So I'm now going to go to the master blender, right? The actual master blender. And he's, I don't know if he's got any Sextons left in his glass, but how's that working out, brother?
I do. Oh, dude, it's working out great, man. It's working out good. I love how it just complements, as the cigars. You get down, as you can see, I'm pretty much at the end of the cigar now, what you would call like the last third. So it's very intense once it gets to this point. The richness in it, the spiciness really picks up. And when you when you take a puff after a sip of the Sexton, to me it just balances out beautifully, and it goes down so sweet. I get these intense notes of caramel going down, and I think it complements it perfectly, man. I'm not one very big on pairing stuff with this and that, but this really goes down really, really smooth and really nice, and it complements it.
I'm gonna
All right, so
disagree with everything everybody just said. Frankie's like, oh no, here we go.
no, here we go. Here we go.
We are off
so-
the rails.
Yeah,
So.
listen. For a moment there, I thought I was on
Oh, you were-
easy street.
No,
That I had actually created something amazing. But hey, I'm willing to be taken down a notch or two. So go ahead, my man. Go
All right,
ahead,
so-
wizard.
all
Let's
right,
do this.
so I'm drinking the straight white label, half a bottle in since we started the episode.
I believe
the
that's
Miami.
called the original.
It is the original, and the Miami, which is an original onto itself. And I like unbalanced. I was in the chat earlier with some people, and I like when something sticks out. So the Bushmills is very balanced. It's super warm. It's just, you feel really good when you drink it. And then the Miami hits you, and it just is like a spike of intensity. That's what I really like, is that because that pulls through. Because look, at 80 proof, yeah, half a bottle is no joke. It's easy, but then you pair it with the Miami, and it's got this intense little zinger in it, and that's really what it comes to the forefront, and then you go back again. So you go from a balanced to an unbalanced and back again,
Right.
and then together it's just a magical moment. And that's really, that's the best part about it. And I'm down to the band. I mean, I'm going to smoke the band almost at this point. It's so good.
Well,
and that's the other thing
Joe,
too. Is,
Joey, you brought up a great point, and I'm going to interrupt you for a second. The white label being so, I believe it's so floral and so flavorful, right? That it provides a great contrast with a stick that's a little bit more, I would say, on the more medium to bolder side of flavor. So you've heard me talk over all these weeks of contrast. So we find the white label is a great contrast, and that in that contrast we find a great complement. In the Black Bush and in the Sexton, we find reinforcement of what the Miami is, and so we can approach figuring
from
out
either
what the
side.
complement in different ways, and that's like, I love the beauty of that. So Jack, are you taking notes?
Wait, is this Irish Jack or Jack Hare?
Yeah, no. And we never bring in Jack Hare to this conversation. We're talking about Jack Ferris here.
Irish
so
Jack.
Irish Jack.
Irish
Look,
Jack.
You have all brought up the most perfect points. Whenever I used to do the tastings back in the distillery back home in the Bushmills distillery, you're all saying exactly what I used to end the tasting with. Every whiskey has got its own mood, its own time, its own place. Willie even made a very good point. Someone asks him what is his favorite whiskey. Well, it depends. It depends on your company, it depends on the time of day, depends on the temperature, it depends on the weather, it depends on where you are, even down to where you are in the environment. So this is the thing. It's like, this is why, like, having the Bushmills portfolio, we've got 3 blended whiskies. And then we have the Sexton single malt here as part of what we're showcasing tonight. They're all very individual, but they're all very accessible. One of the best things we've all done tonight, and a lot of people do kind of view Irish whiskey as something we shut down. No, take your time, because then you'll understand when and where you want to enjoy it. So for example, the Black Bush, what I want to do is enjoy that on the side of a pint of Guinness. The Sexton, because it is so intense, but it is triple distilled, so it's smooth in texture, I want to have that sitting outside the bar with cigar, but it's we're going to get a lot of that cold air. The Bushmills Original, it is lighter, it is sweeter, so if it was warmer up here in the Northeast coast, that is something I've been definitely leaning towards a little bit more. They're all very individual, and it's finding out when and where you want to enjoy them. Tasting notes are one thing, but finding when and where each one of these whiskeys makes sense, that is more important in my eyes.
Absolutely. Listen,
100%.
you got it from Irish Jack's mouth. You know, figure out how you want to enjoy these things, and the same applies, Jack, to cigars. You know,
Exactly.
where and when.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a perfect marriage between exactly how we discover the cigar we want, and also what type of cigar we want. And again, Willie put it perfectly. You're starting to put it perfectly as well. It's like, just find out the moment you want what you want.
Absolutely. And you know, Herrera Esteli Miami is one of the beautiful blends in the Herrera Esteli family, where we have the Habano, we have the Brazilian Maduro, we obviously have, and we also have the Norteño, and they all have their place. You know, so Willie, congrats on Miami. It's an ode to our history, into what makes Miami Miami. You know, Jack, I don't know if you knew this, and everybody out there, I grew up about like 5-6 blocks away from El Titan, which is Willie's family's factory. You know, so as a kid, you know, that was a little Havana cigar making central, you know, and definitely feeling the love for Miami, and having the opportunity to make a beautiful Irish coffee that combines, you know, a little bit of Ireland, a little bit of Cuba, and a whole lot of meat. You know, that's the important part. You know, that's the important part. You know, so, and with that, Willie, listen, man, you got to help me. I'm contractually obligated to give the wizard something called a mezcal minute. So, just 1 minute. So, Willie, I want you to introduce, you know, Joey for Mezcal Minute. Go ahead.
And now, with no further ado, Mr. Joey Drew.
All right. So tonight I'm not drinking mezcal. I've been drinking this half a bottle of Bushmills so far. But there's a great thing that I've encountered in mezcal, and you probably encountered in a lot of different spirits, is the 200 milliliter bottle. It is a great way to go down a rabbit hole where you want to test the waters, but you don't want to like spend the big bucks for, you know, an $80 or $100 bottle of something. You know, for like $30 or $40, you can get a 200 milliliter bottle and go down the rabbit hole there. And I've got several of these laying around, and this is a great one from Ray Comparo. They make just an amazing mezcal producer historically, and I highly recommend, if you're looking to, you know, stick your toe in the water and you don't want to just, you know, spend all this money on a giant bottle of something, the little 200 milliliters, look for them. They're stashed away behind the register. Usually you'll find them. Ask your local purveyor about them, and pick it up, man, because it's a great way to get into the new stuff of mezcal. So that's my 1 minute. And because we're this far into the show, no one has said fuck yet. So I just said it. So
there we go. You know, whatever. It only took 52 minutes. There
it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing.
It's embarrassing.
So
yeah.
long.
We tried to keep it on the up and up for the Irishman.
So
if you've ever seen him, you know, outside of his official role, you know, we all know how we speak outside of the public eye.
Yes,
it's all wonderful.
And two, before you get to the question stuff, we have to do a big shout out to Izzy, Drew Estate Izzy. It's her birthday.
You stole my
today.
thunder. You stole my thunder yet again.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
You know,
I didn't.
So
But it's
shout
her
out
birthday
to.
tonight. Go ahead.
Shout out to Drew Estate Izzy. Everybody out there. Isola Woods. Happy birthday to you, darling. You are amazing. We raise a glass to you. Yes, even Jack's gonna raise a glass to you tonight. You know.
And she came to Miami for her birthday. That tells you something.
There you go.
That tells you what you need to know.
She needed to get her Herrera Esteli Miami. So cheers to you, Isola. Happiest of birthdays. We love you. And there you go. There's your Mezcal minute. So listen,
And,
the
and
moment
with that,
and the moment that all these viewers have been waiting for is to get their questions picked, and they've been so many questions, and here we go. This is it. So congratulations, Douglas Schrogi. Uh, and he's going to ask Willie a question. How hard is it to create a blend and keep it consistent across the sizes? Uh, Pig versus a Toro versus a Lancero. Willie, how does that really work for us, man?
Well, one word, man, the team in Nicaragua, the team in the factory. You know, when these blends are created, each size is blended, and then there's a menu that's made for each and every single size within a line. And so when the tobacco, the moncheros go to the back to pick up the tobacco for whatever cigar line it is that they're making, they're given this menu, and then they know if it takes one leaf of seco, 1.5 of viso, half a leaf of ligero, what binder, what wrapper. And then more importantly, then you have the supervisors that supervise uh, these moncheros and ruletas as they're making the cigar. They're walking and they're picking up a cigar here and there, and they're smoking them, they're weighing them, they're looking at, they're feeling them. And then from there it goes over to quality control. And then the same process happens again. But the key, the biggest and most important part is the tobacco, and with us, with the amount of tobacco that we purchase, you're able to store away enough of that tobacco for whatever line it is that we're creating. Um, and that's a big problem that a lot of smaller factories run into, because when you're not able to buy, you know, let's call it 20 bales of secos and 15 bales of ligeros for the year and 10 bales of visos for the year, you run out halfway, and then you got to run out and go get some more of that tobacco. Well, chances are you're not going to find that tobacco from that same farm. So you have a lot of inconsistencies, and the cigar doesn't smoke the same because the tobacco didn't come from the same field, it didn't come from the same farm, it might not have come from the same year. So with us having the purchase power that we have, we buy enough tobacco um, for any given line, and we know that it's going to be consistent. And that's the key to consistency, is having enough of that tobacco. And then you rely on your team of the moncheros that are picking the blend and filling up those molds. And then you have the supervisors and the people above them to smoke those cigars on a daily basis.
Yeah, listen, Douglas, you got it from the horse's mouth here, man. It's a team effort, and shout out to our entire factory team. We are creating an agricultural product much the same way um, that so many hands go into the creation of a whiskey, so many hands go into the creation of a cigar, and we celebrate the people that are behind that. So congratulations. Next question, Joey White. He asks, Frankie Drinks, how many sips per cigar? Oh man, you listen. I'm gonna give you the simple. It depends how big your sip is. So congratulations, Joey White. Um,
it's
in
one to
all
one.
serious, yeah.
One to
In all
one.
seriousness, I like, as I've said many times, I love to have a highball, which is just whiskey with some club soda, um, and then a neat pour next to it, and people look at you like you're raging alcoholic. But the reality is that what I do with that is have a small sip, get it in the mouth, get the flavors in there, enjoy a draw from your cigar. And then when it's time, you can take a sip of your highball, because the carbonation is kind of works like a mouthwash. So you kind of rinsing out your mouth, but you're rinsing out your mouth with a little bit of the spirit that's in there and maintaining the flavors. So you can kind of keep this constant cycle of having that spirit be present in your palate, without being overwhelmed by the essential oils that are in that cigar. That's the way that I prefer to do it. But others can choose. Look, you can have a cocktail first and then have a neat spirit later. The enjoyment of cigar really is really up to you. Take your time.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, I would
anything
say,
else.
you know
take,
what,
take your time.
especially, yeah, that's exactly it. Is slow it down. Everything about enjoying a spirit, enjoying a cigar or a cocktail, is slowing it down. Everything is fast enough. The world is spinning around us like crazy. Everybody's busy up the wazoo. But man, you have a moment to yourself. Bring it all down. Take it all down. Enjoy it. Savor it. Let that cigar burn in the air and the smoke drift up, and you get lost in that smoke. And that's the beauty of smoking a great cigar, is you have a moment of calm, you know, in a crazy busy world that we're all in. So my 2 cents from the wizard.
There you go. From the wizard, take your time. And I think Jack agrees with that one. I see him agreeing. And it is part of the enjoyment. So congratulations. Jesse Marquez says, when do we get to see and pair the Cajachina? All I can tell you is stay tuned. Don't miss an episode of Sticks and Sips every Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So congratulations. You get the lid and all the beautiful swag. Frankie Caraballo. All right. So I'm going to throw this over to Jack. Are Irish coffees only drunk hot?
Drunk.
Drunk hot?
You want? Can you do a? Can you,
You know,
do
listen,
it like,
I'm reading off a teleprompter, man. So listen. So
like an
Jack,
iced Irish coffee?
what's your preference on an Irish coffee? I think
So,
the classic way.
So obviously my preference is our traditional style, because I believe that 6-ounce glass, you're not going to have one, you're going to have two. Maybe you're going to have, in reality, you're going to have three.
Doesn't.
But let's also address New Orleans. In New Orleans, they're famous for a frozen Irish coffee. Now, we can use that exact same recipe we just did tonight, but it doesn't have to be hot coffee. It can be chilled coffee. It can be cold brew coffee. So we can still enjoy Irish coffee in the peak of summer. When you put it into perspective, the influx of people going into a coffee store does not change in winter compared to summer. It's the same queue, it's the same amount of people. People still drink coffee, hot or cold, at any time of the year. So there's no reason for the Irish coffee to change. It's again, it depends what you want. But that recipe we did tonight, and something that I think we've shared, but we can share again after this, you can have that coffee hot or cold. And again, it's always personal.
Love it. Love it. I think that, you know, I'll drink them hot, cold, tepid, if you will. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate that. You know, how many times have people said tepid on this show? Never. So listen, enjoy them how you best feel like it. And in Miami, to be honest with you, Willie, listen, Willie, next time you and I are in New Orleans together, I'm gonna take you to the Aaron Rose. I can't, we can't say a bar, on this side. I can say a bar because it's just only one that serves this frozen Irish coffee the right way. And hey, it's Irishy in its name, and we always have a great time because whenever we're in there for Tales of the Cocktail, hopefully we'll be back soon. We run into all sorts of characters. It could be Jack Ferris walking in. It could be Joaquin Simo. It could be all sorts of people that show up, and everyone is ordering Irish coffees until the Taylor machine runs out, and then they reload, and it'll take 30 minutes. So, so they rephrase these beautiful, it's like a coffee Slurpee that's alcoholic, man. And you can get an extra shot on top, how about that?
I'm in.
I miss it. I miss it greatly,
I wonder if you can make a nice, like an Irish coffee ice cream pop.
Dude, this is like drinking one of those that melted.
Yeah, but then refreeze it and make it an ice pop.
Oh my God.
And then dunk it
I got
This is-
chills.
Dunk
These
it in the,
types of ideas can only happen on Sticks and Sips.
and
for
then you
those-
There
dunk
we
it in the
go.
Bushmills Sexton, and then you pull it out so you get a nice coating of the Sexton on your ice pop Irish coffee, and then it's delicious.
Right. So you're just making a paleta, which they usually do with the tequila. They put the fruit thing in the inside. So we're gonna do that with frozen. Jack, are you taking notes? I mean, this could be life changing here.
Hey, look, we're walking into a different world after 2020. Let's do it. Let's try it.
We're gonna do frozen Irish coffees that we dip into. I'm gonna say Sexton or Blackbush. I
Do the
gotta think about it.
Sexton.
Yeah, Sexton has got that little bit of a bite on it. Beautiful. So we'll drop that freaking double pop in there and enjoy it. Joey, you're a mad genius. So I hope that answered the question. Next up, Josh Ulam. If we have a favorite espresso, can you use that instead of coffee? So I'll post up what I did, which is it's called an Americano. So I used espresso, this gigantic 4-pound tin. I made like one serving of espresso. No, I'm kidding. You use espresso and cut it 1 part to 2 parts hot water. And that's kind of it's almost like a drip coffee consistency, but it has a little bit more bitter, a little bit different flavor profile. So that's what I did with my Cubano Americano. I use Cuban coffee, and then I cut it with a little bit of hot water just to make it this same consistency. Because if you throw down an Irish coffee with just espresso, it's a little too strong. It's not going to play right. You want to riff. You want to play around with the original recipe, but just tweak it in minor amounts so you can still enjoy it, close to its original format. So there you go. He's got the popsicle things up, Joey. That we got you.
Irish coffee
No.
popsicles. Yeah, they are.
All right,
It's a
there we
thing.
go. I mean,
See, I'm not crazy. It's a thing.
it's a thing. So listen, we need to make this happen. So congratulations to everybody out there. First thing I'm going to do is thank my very special guest tonight, my man, global ambassador for Bushmills, Mr. Jack Ferris. Thank you for joining us on Sticks and Sips, my man. Learned so much from you.
Guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure. It's always great to see you again. And I just can't wait until we can actually do this, sitting on the back somewhere, smoking cigars, having good whiskey, just having it. So
It'll happen soon. God willing, it'll happen soon. And we definitely look forward to it. And your glorious return to South Florida, or my glorious return to New York. Either one. I'll say cheers to that. My man Willy Herrera, thank you again. By the way, I'd never mentioned the goatee beard thingy that you got going. It looks dope.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for having me, man. It's always a good time.
Always. Thank you so much for sharing all the knowledge about the Herrera Miami. Super honored to have you on again, and we're super excited for 2021. It is a year that we that we're trying to figure out, but it's always good having you on and learning more, man. We got so much more. I've got to learn about tobacco from you, and I got to teach you a couple things about some spirits, and we're gonna have a great journey together.
We'll teach each other, man. Sounds like a plan
Always.
to me.
Always. I want to thank my man Mike Llaneza, for joining us all the way from the frozen tundra of Michigan.
It is frozen up here too, by the way. It's like 19 degrees outside.
Oof.
His garage is on fire, and that's the only way he's keeping warm. But he's enjoying his Bushmills, Blackbush, and the Sexton, and his Miamis, and he wouldn't have it any other way. Mikey, I'm on with you. When are we on together?
We're on this Thursday evening with.
All right, that means tomorrow.
No, next Thursday evening.
All right, that means a week from tomorrow.
4th of February, sir. Yes, we are. We're going to be doing my first Herrera Esteli gaming the system event with a retailer here in Michigan. Do you want to say his name, Frankie?
Yes, absolutely. Because we can't have certain people say certain names, but I can. So Secreto Cigar Bar. My man Ronnie Haisha, you've been, I hope you're creeping on the tech on the comments. I'll be coming for you next week, and we'll be enjoying together. We'll be enjoying Herrera's together with my man Mikey, and I'm looking forward to it, Mike.
As am I, sir. As am I.
Thank you for being part of Six Sips, and last but not least, my man, the Wizard.
I apologize on behalf of all of Ireland that I did not consume the entire bottle tonight in one show. I got halfway through. It's just dynamite stuff. I mean, what can you say? You need this in your bar. You need this in your liver, swirling around. And my liver is a tiny little raisin. So
there you go. So listen. I Jack. Will you accept that apology on behalf of the Irish people?
I'm speechless. I'm yeah.
I'll do my best next time. I promise.
Listen, we are all, Wes Anderson fans here. So for any Wes Anderson fans out there, all two of you that are on the Sticks and Sips, on behalf of the Grand Budapest Hotel, my sincerest apologies. And with that, I'm going to thank my man Jack Hare. I'm going to ask him to throw up a very important slide here just to keep you reminded. Please support your local liquor stores, your local bars, your local brick and mortar, everything that you can. Still going through some tough times, but we're going to come around it and we're going to be better. Make sure you follow us, Stewart Estate Cigars, Frankie Drinks. Get on that Bushmills. They put up good stuff. Follow my man Jack Ferris. Follow the Sexton. All great stuff. And with that, listen, the bar's closed, man. I've got to clean up. Whether I make one drink or I make 100, the cleanup is the same. With that, I'm out. Thank you so much for joining Six and Sips tonight. See you guys next week. Love you.
Good riddance.